got banned on TikTok, Caleb. Not completely, but we posted.
We're not even.
No.
Yeah.
We posted a video about Bohemian Grove and Freemasons and Hillary Clinton being a lizard woman, and TikTok said that's hate speech.
Enough is enough.
We didn't get completely shut down, just that one video. And I even appealed it. I was like, "Come on!" And I
did you?
The
That's
appeal button.
awesome.
Yeah, and then they came back and said, "No, we stand by it." Not good.
We're not. We're like the most innocent podcast out there.
It's pretty.
I couldn't even tell you what the Freemasons do. It just happened to work out.
I think there's just a few buzzwords we used. But the funny thing is, on Instagram, that's the best video we've had all year. So
they're like, you know what? We support it. We also believe that she's a lizard woman.
Mark Zuckerberg is
he's like, I get it.
Anti-Freemason.
As a member of the Freemason, I get it. I get why you're talking about us.
I get it.
That's what he's saying.
We're worth talking about. You might as well share it. I'll allow it.
Oh man, that is so funny.
Though,
yeah, you
the guy that owns TikTok.
You texted me that, and I was like, oh, big TikTok got to it. It was going to be our best performing video of all time, and they said, nope, we can't have you talking about us like that.
Yeah, it would have been. It would have been. Those TikTokers know all about it.
On that note, welcome to Learn
I think
something.
we both thought the other person was going to talk. Go for it.
This is the competitive teaching podcast where two friends compete to present a better topic. Loser has to do a punishment. I lost last episode. It was my first loss of the season. I'm planning on it being my last loss as well. But the punishment was I had to... Oh, this was a silly one. I had to eat with the back end of silverware for 3 days.
End. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
How'd it go?
It was fine. It was like mildly frustrating, but it was also novel enough. It's like, this is so silly. I did make a little video about it.
Yeah.
On Instagram.
That's been posted by now. Yeah. What's the hardest food that you had to eat with it?
I didn't eat a lot. I realized the best strategy was to just limit silverware foods. Normally, I'm a Cheerios and milk guy, and that's for breakfast every morning. That's just unachievable with the back end of a spoon. Like, it's just, you can't do it.
One Cheerio at a time. No.
So I switched to muffins for my breakfast. I would say, though, probably the hardest thing I ate was applesauce, which is what the video I did.
That's not too bad.
What that was about. Yeah. But then it was molded enough that it still kind of worked. I just had to take smaller bites, which was dumb. Sure. And then the most embarrassing thing I ate was a Wendy's Frosty. So we went to Wendy's on Wednesday with some friends, and I didn't even think about it until I was about to take a bite, and I was like, oh, come on. But we just ordered meals. So I had a burger and a fries and a drink, but we have that Junior Frosty keychain thing that we paid for.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, they were like, yeah, we'll pick one up. Free Frosty. Why not? So then I didn't explain it to our friends or Mallory, who hadn't listened to that episode yet. I just turned the spoon around and dipped it in the Frosty and took a bite. And oh, it was so funny. People gave me weird looks, but then they didn't comment on it. So then I was like...
The people you were sitting with? Everybody you were sitting with?
Yeah. They didn't make any comments, but they did, everyone, stopped talking, looked down at the spoon, and then just kept going with the conversation. So I was like, all right, this might not be that bad. And then I took a few more bites, and then that was enough for them to be like, hey,
okay,
what is happening?
Calm down a little bit. What does that say about either your relationship with all those people or their perception of you? Was it just like, no, that's just Caleb.
Seriously.
It's just
either I'm so weird crazy. That they're like, yeah, that's, nothing to write home about. Or
not unexpected for
maybe they're intimidated by me, by my power and my social status.
Your
maybe
muscles.
That's it. And so they're like, we don't want to...
Your confidence.
Yeah, my physical appearance. Like, we just don't want to call attention. He probably knows something we don't. He's just way cooler.
Yeah, it's like a health thing, really. You ingest less plastic. You do it that way.
Go with that. Yeah, exactly. Joe Rogan, after he was talking about ice baths, told everyone to eat with the back of their spoon. So I've been listening to that. We'll go with that.
Just a Joe Rogan
anyway.
head.
Yeah.
Nice. So not too
3
bad.
days. Yeah, I would say the biggest inconvenience was choosing to plan my meals to not have to do it as much as possible. So that changed. Yeah. Like I haven't had my Cheerios in a while, and that's been a bummer.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That sounds like the worst punishment you could possibly receive. Don't have any Cheerios for 3 days.
Eat your Cheerios.
Honestly, I relate to that. I went through a big Costco-sized box of Cheerios recently.
So good.
Alarmingly quick. And I chose not to get another box because it was time to back off. So I get it.
The processed foods. I actually heard they're changing their minds. Processed foods are recommended now. They're saying you need to be eating as many of these as possible.
Make sure everything you eat goes through a machine and gets extruded out onto a conveyor belt.
Exactly. If you are a meat eater, make sure it's confined to small spaces during its life. That'll just help the quality of the meat. That kind of thing. You know.
Yeah. Or lab grown. Like, if it's not even meat, that's good too.
Yeah.
So
best case scenario.
An egg that a robot chicken laid. That's even better.
If you're new around here, we're joking, by the way. This is a Learn podcast, and we are going to get into topics where we tell the truth, but everything you just heard was not it.
That's we haven't got to the learn part. This is just the something part of the podcast.
Yeah.
So, speaking of getting to the learning part,
Yeah, you won. So take your pick.
I'm going first. Okay. And get ready to lose again today because I got a topic.
Are you that confident?
Blow your socks off. Yes. Yeah.
No. I like mine a lot.
Well, it's less so that I have a topic and more that I've brought in a guest.
No.
A guest speaker today. I'm tapping out today, and my wife Abby is going to take it from here.
The first tap out of the season.
Abby's here. Presenting today.
Hello, people have learned me something.
The nation.
This is very exciting.
Nation. Not just the nation, the world.
Oh.
International Josiah. Come on.
Yeah. Open your mind.
I forget how much of a large reach we have.
Yeah.
Okay. So what topic are you talking about today?
Oh, jumping right in.
Yeah.
Okay. So, first off, Caleb, are you nervous? Are you ready to lose?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't think the other person has ever won an episode where there's been a tap out. It's like the easiest way to guarantee a win.
It's true.
This might be the first. I'm kind of taking a risk with this one.
Just go more confidently.
I'm gonna be scrappy. I have a good topic. I'm gonna bring it anyway, but I will say I'm no longer feeling overly confident.
Okay.
Okay, so first we'll actually start with a story. Who doesn't love a good story? So take you back to 2012. So not super long ago. There was
we're staying in this century.
Yeah. So honestly, you probably might recall this event, maybe. So back in 2012, there was a 43-year-old Austrian skydiver, and he ascended 128,000 feet into the atmosphere using this helium balloon device. He gets up to that point.
Yes.
He opens the door to this device and jumps, and he falls, reaching 843 miles per hour at the top speed.
Insane.
So he breaks the sound barrier.
Insane.
And he breaks the world record as the longest free fall, highest free fall. So
was this like a Red
crazy,
Bull thing?
Right? That's a crazy stunt.
Sponsored by Red Bull.
Yeah, definitely go look up the video. It is quite crazy because they have like a video of him like standing out of the balloon and he's just like looking down.
Yeah, you see him and you're like, that guy's just in space. Like if he jumps out of that, he's just gonna float away.
And I saw him falling and I was like, is there a parachute? Like, is he just trying to break the sound barrier and like cost him his life? Like, I don't know. Anyways,
one victory
he lives. He
survives. And I'm out of here.
Anyway, so now we're going to go back a little bit further, 1997. And the Guinness
now we're
World
in the 1900s.
Record. Yeah, so we did go back a little bit further. The Guinness World Record decided to cease recognizing any attempts of breaking the sleep deprivation record for safety reasons.
Ooh.
So, a man jumping out of a helium balloon over 100,000 feet is safer than becoming sleep deprived. So that's our topic today is sleep.
I have this. I have not looked into it, but I have this as an idea that's been on my ideas list for topics since like 2021. And I've just never looked into it.
Cross it off.
Well, no, there's so much to it. I'm like barely scratching the surface. There's so much. You could go off on so many spin-offs. Because the guy that broke the record back in 1997, he broke it. It was 11 days without sleep.
That's crazy.
I don't even know. And I didn't even go into that story. There's like a whole story there where I'm like...
And I think people have died too, which I'm sure.
I'm sure. So anyways, but we'll just kind of briefly go over like how sleep works. What happens if you don't get enough sleep, and some tips on how to get healthy sleep. So
this is
really
actually very
scratching
timely.
the surface here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, really?
I'm interested for medical reasons and also for topic reasons.
Perfect.
Excellent. So, as we were like, so sleep. How does sleep work? And we're actually going to start with when you wake up. So when you wake up, there are two hormones released. There's cortisol and there's epinephrine, or also known as the adrenaline hormone. And both these hormones are like, hey, it's a very small amount that you're getting in the morning. And the hormones say, hey, it's time to wake up. We're increasing your heart rate. We're tensing up your muscles. And on top of that, the cortisol goes up to your brain, and there's a gland inside your brain called the pineal gland, and this gland is only about the size of a pea, and this is the only organ in the body that produces melatonin. So actually, right when you wake up, and that cortisol goes up to the pineal gland and says, hey, remember me?
Pick it up.
He's like, in about 12 to 14 hours, you need to start making some melatonin. So it's crazy, like already, right when you wake up, your body's preparing to go to sleep.
They're getting ready. That is interesting.
Yeah. And at the same moment, so your pineal gland's like, okay, in 12 to 14 hours, I'm going to make some melatonin. And then also your brain is like, hey, we're going to start making this other neurotransmitter called adenosine. And adenosine is a chemical in the brain. And as you're
I didn't
awake,
see this coming.
I'm trying not to go too far into the weeds because there's a lot of hormones that are in play.
Yeah.
So we're just going to like stick to the very basics. So adenosine is created in the brain, and it builds up as the longer you're awake. And this is kind of like a sleepy neurotransmitter. So in your brain specifically has these cells called neurons. And these neurons have, at the end of them, these receptors. And these receptors are receiving signals constantly throughout the day. And adenosine comes up and it binds to this receptor. And the more receptors that have this adenosine on it, the sleepier you get. So that's kind of how that works.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Like
how do I double those?
Yeah.
What pill do I need to take to double those connectors?
Wow, that's a great question for the end. So anyway, but it's interesting because caffeine. So I'll kind of jump into caffeine and how it works because it goes well with this adenosine. So adenosine's in the receptor, and if you drink some caffeine, you're like, man, I'm feeling kind of tired. I'll drink some caffeine. Drink your cup of coffee. Caffeine comes into the brain, and it's actually stronger than the adenosine. So even if the adenosine is in the receptor, caffeine will basically boot it out and take its place. And the caffeine goes to the receptor and says, hey, you're not sleepy anymore, you're awake. So, and then that's why you feel like after, like, get out of here, adenosine. But the adenosine doesn't disappear. It's still floating around in the brain.
It's just like
it's still lurking around.
Hanging around.
Vibing.
Yeah, so
everyone on the podcast, we're dancing right now if you're doing a slow, wiggly jig.
Audio only.
Yeah. And so basically, whenever the caffeine finally says, okay, I've done my job here and leaves, that adenosine has been building up this entire time, and then they race to that receptor and block it. So that's why you get that caffeine crash. So it's still been building up, you've just been ignoring it with the caffeine.
Man,
I found
that makes caffeine seem significantly more intrusive. It's like, stay off of my receptors.
Leave me alone.
In some places, it's technically a drug. It's like a stimulant.
Whoa.
So
that's
I read one article where they're like, we need to moderate caffeine intake, and I was like,
down with
that's not happening.
But we'll get to, at the end, we'll also get to maybe some healthy ways to take caffeine. But anyway, so those are kind of the 4 hormones, big hormones. So cortisol, epinephrine help you wake up, melatonin and adenosine help you sleep. And I don't want to go too deep into this because I'm sure a lot of people already know this, but that correlates to your circadian rhythm. So your circadian rhythm is when you're awake and when you're asleep. It's about 24 hours. And then when you're asleep, there is basically 2 stages while you're asleep. It's non-rapid eye movement and then rapid eye movement. Rapid eye movement is when you're dreaming. So
that's when fun
just kind of some
happens.
fun tips.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously, that is so cool. And then what's kind of interesting is this circadian rhythm is what they call endogenous. So basically, it happens within your body regardless of what you do externally. So I love this because
interesting too.
There's these 2 scientists. I love scientists because they're like, I'm gonna figure this out. So these 2 scientists, they go down to Mammoth Cave, which is in Kentucky, and it's such a deep cave. There's no lights there whatsoever, so it's completely dark. They go down there for 6 weeks without any lights to see if it messes up their circadian rhythm.
Just to see.
Like, let's just find out. And so
like, this could mess me up forever.
Let's see. Only one way to find out.
Yeah, that's why I love them. They're like, I'll do it. I'll take one for the team.
You're all of scientists' biggest fan. Yeah. All of the scientists' biggest fan.
Yeah. So anyways, but then they found out, that's where they found out their circadian rhythm. Sunlight is helpful, but it really, you don't need it. It will not affect your circadian rhythm.
So you like get tired at the same time,
yeah.
whether there's a light, dark pattern or
the
not.
melatonin will still be released. The cortisol will still be released at roughly the same time.
So your body has a non-light centered clock just ticking away.
Yeah.
That is, how does it know? Is
at least
some part of your brain counting?
6 weeks at least. Like what if it's like it's one of those watches.
We should go try it for 2 years
by just motion, and if it charges for 2 years, you run out of battery, and then your circadian rhythm gets all out of whack. Could be. I don't know.
Like that. Anyway, so just very interesting. Very interesting. And
sorry. Go ahead.
So now we'll kind of jump forward to what happens if you don't get enough sleep. Yes. And when I say enough sleep, so science has deemed less than 7 hours of sleep is when you start reaching that sleep deprivation stage. So you're not getting enough sleep. Mm-hmm. However, there is just a caveat. There is a very rare gene out there that people can get less than 7 hours of sleep and they're fine. But the study I was reading said that gene is so rare, your chances of getting struck by lightning are greater than having that gene. So
every like mega rich person has it. They're just like, I don't get why everyone isn't waking up at 3 a.m. every day and getting to work.
I know, so I was like, what?
It's genetics.
Presidents. I've read that a lot of presidents, like U.S. presidents, only get 3 or 4 hours of sleep a night, whether they have the gene or not.
Well, I was gonna say, haven't you seen the before and after photos?
Yeah, that's true.
They don't have it.
Yeah, maybe only
don't
some of
have
them.
it.
So roughly people are supposed to be getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep. And that one is just roughly based on genes, whether you need the 7 hours of sleep or 9 hours of sleep. So that depends on you. So once you start reaching that sleep deprivation stage, it pretty much affects every system of your body. But I'm going to focus on 2, so your heart and your mind. So your heart, your cardiovascular system, basically whenever you're not getting enough sleep, your body responds with what they call the sympathetic nervous system. And that's your fight or flight system. So when that is triggered, your heart rate increases and your blood pressure increases. So causing extra stress on your heart system.
Whoa.
And when that happens, it actually damages. So in your veins, there's this tissue called endothelium inside your veins and your arteries. And when that happens, it damages it and kind of causes this scarring inside your veins. And usually, when you sleep, this growth hormone is released. And when that growth hormone is released, that endothelium gets replaced. But if you're not getting enough sleep, that's not being released. And so you have this extra stress on your heart, plus it's causing damage to your arteries and veins, and it's not getting repaired like it should be. So then you're more prone to get that plaque buildup. And that's where you're more prone to get heart attacks and strokes.
What?
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Gamers beware.
Yes. And
wait, so...
yeah,
so let me just make sure I'm hearing this right. So being sleep deprived activates your fight or flight response in your heart?
Yes.
That feels significant. Like people should not want that to happen.
I know.
That's crazy.
That's like worst case scenario,
just
right?
That alone. And that's just one system of your body that's being affected.
Wow.
And if you think I'm fibbing, there is a study out there.
I don't.
So, I see that look in your eye. You think I'm fibbing. No. So they had this study done. So daylight savings time occurs, right? Every year. Twice a year, actually. And this study, they researched like hundreds of hospitals over several years. Yeah. And they found out in the spring, whenever we lose an hour of sleep, the amount of heart attacks increases dramatically. And then vice versa, when we gain an hour of sleep, when in the fall, heart attacks decrease the next day.
Oh, the day.
The next day following.
Heart attack.
There's a correlation?
Yes. And it's like...
What?
Yes. Isn't that interesting? So,
Benjamin Franklin is shaking in his boots.
Why?
Didn't Ben Franklin come up with daylight savings?
Oh,
okay. I was like, I guess.
You watch out, that Benny boy.
So,
that's funny.
That's just one day can make an effect. I think I should bring that up to Congress because they need to get rid of this.
Yeah, nobody likes daylight savings.
I don't know. I still don't understand why we have it.
Wasn't it like a farmer thing so farmers could get more... I don't know. You get the same... Oh, shoot. Our camera
we lost a camera.
Oh, no.
That was so sad.
Do you need me to do something?
No, just keep going.
Just keep talking? Okay. So that's the heart. So now we'll skip to the mind. Or do we want to keep recording?
Yeah, keep going.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, keep it going.
So now we'll stick
we
to
don't
the
stop
mind.
for nothing. Okay, we're in the mind.
So
this
the
is
mind,
exciting.
This one blew my mind. I was like, what? So do you know what the lymphatic system is?
Is that where you get your nodes? Your lymph nodes?
Yeah, your lymph nodes. Yeah, exactly. Yes. So those are part of the lymphatic system. Yeah, it basically helps clean out your body of infections, diseases, just other debris that builds up in your body. So that's your body. Your brain has its own lymphatic system called the glymphatic system.
Clever naming.
I know. I did not know that. I thought that was so cool.
Clever naming.
So this glymphatic system works in your brain to help so whenever your neurons in your brain like fire, there's this extra, sometimes this debris that builds up whenever they fire. There's like this extra stuff that comes off of it and then it builds up in your system, but the glymphatic system helps pull it off. and gets rid of it. So it helps keep your brain clean and ready for the next day.
Ready for anything.
But when you sleep, when you sleep, your body, so how do I explain this? There is fluid surrounding your brain and your spinal system. It's called cerebral spinal fluid.
I don't like that. Get that out of there. Shake. I just gotta. It'll come out my ear if I like. Come on.
Thankfully, it doesn't work like that. Anyway, so there's this fluid surrounding your brain, but when you sleep, your body's like, hey, we need some extra fluid on the brain right now, and it basically washes your brain with some extra of this fluid to help clear out extra debris and everything. And it uses that lymphatic system to clean it off, and it does this at night in your sleep. It's crazy. I was like, what?
What is going on?
This is important. Yeah, like what is going on when I
brain
sleep?
Car wash. Mine's got like
pressure
lights.
That's a good way of saying it.
All right, he's down. Let's rinse him off. Let's clear him out.
Yeah, send him on his way.
So bring in the janitorial staff.
Basically.
It makes me feel weird.
But this is important because during that process, there's an amyloid protein. I think I'm pronouncing that right. And if this wash doesn't occur, this protein will start building up. And this protein is known to start eating away the neurons in your frontal cortex of your brain.
Don't like that.
Yep, that's another one that people don't like.
Is that why, like, when you're really sleep deprived, you can't, like, think straight? Or is that a different...
That's a different reason. That's the
hypothalamus?
No, not hypothalamus.
That's a word.
It's the hippocampus.
Hippocampus
is inactive when you sleep.
That's a word.
Oh, okay. I see. But it probably doesn't help.
Yeah, well, what happens, and really this is like long term. One night of sleep isn't going to affect you that much. You're not going to like be an invalid after that. Sure.
Yeah.
But what they found is this correlation that people with Alzheimer's disease have a buildup of this protein. And so they're making this correlation that if you are chronically getting sleep deprivation, you have a greater propensity to getting Alzheimer's disease because your brain is not able to clear this protein, and the protein builds up and starts eating away at your brain, basically.
Wow.
So sleep
is so important.
Yeah.
Why has no one ever told me to get good sleep?
I know. That's why I was like, I know this is important, but I never really understood why until I started.
No, the details are fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah.
Super interesting.
A little bit more.
You know that guy Brian Johnson, who's like on social media and the news and stuff, and he's like trying to reverse aging. And
he a weird fella.
We talked about him a few episodes ago. Yeah, I was listening to a podcast with him today, and he said the number one thing for him is getting 8 hours of sleep a night. He said that's the number one thing, like health thing. He has a very strict diet.
Wow.
Like everything. Gets tested for everything all the time. And he said sleep is the most important thing.
Because it's the foundation. The other ones are pillars. Sleep is the foundation.
Oh, that's good. Snaps.
That was not from me. Sorry, it was from the book.
Oh.
And also,
snaps to your book.
If anything, if the listeners walk away from anything, remember this: the shorter you sleep, the shorter your life. There's a happy note.
I mean,
for you.
that's a somber snap.
Just remember that when you're trying to stay awake to watch one more episode. I'm going to take away from my life.
Is this episode worth
it? Is this show worth a shorter life?
Are you getting...
Yes.
Is this going to get banned from TikTok again?
No.
Okay, now on to a more positive note. How to get healthy sleep.
Yes.
Which I'm sure we've heard a lot of these, but we'll just kind of reiterate some of them and have some fun with it. So basically, stick to a schedule is the number one thing they recommend. So waking up at the same time and falling asleep at the same time. And the one little bit of advice I heard, which I thought was helpful, is you set an alarm to wake up. Well, you need to set an alarm to go to bed. like reminder, hey, it's time to go to bed right now.
That is a good tip.
Of getting ready.
Wow.
So there you go.
Bedtime alarm.
Mallory is gonna love this
I kind of don't like that because I feel like stop telling me what to do. Yeah.
Fight or flight. If that alarm went off, fight or flight for sure for me.
Especially if it's the same alarm as your morning alarm.
Oh.
I would like
anyway, so
a audio recording of Ryan Reynolds saying, "Hey there, big guy. Time to start winding down for the night." That's what would do it for me, I think.
And it just plays on Alexa or something.
Oh,
yeah.
There you go.
Hey.
Okay.
Hey, Caleb. It's time.
Hey.
Start heading to bed, buddy.
Someone's in the house. Just have a gun with you at all times.
At all times.
Might be more issues than sleep right there.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe you need to work on some other things first.
And then, second advice is avoid caffeine, which I read that and I was like, I guess a shorter life for me.
Yeah.
Man.
But actually when you drink caffeine, I'm not going to say you should stop drinking caffeine, but when you drink caffeine, keep this in mind. I learned that half-life of caffeine. So half-life is a term they use in the medical world as if whenever you take a drug, how after an X amount of time, or how long does it take for your body to get rid of 50% of that drug? So half-life. So like, let's say you take a Tylenol, the half-life of Tylenol is like 2 hours. So by 2 hours, your body has excreted half of that Tylenol from your system.
Yeah.
Excrete? Is that the word they use?
Yes. Get rid of, I guess I should say. Get rid of Tylenol.
Top 10 word right there. I'd be excreting Tylenol left and right.
Yeah, when you call it out, that is kind of a
Is that what they say in hospital and stuff?
Yeah.
Really?
Okay, keep going. It makes you feel weird.
It makes me feel uncomfy.
So the half-life of caffeine is 5 to 8 hours. And caffeine's actually processed through your liver, and there's certain enzymes in your liver that process it. So really it depends on genetics, again, if you're on the more 5-hour mark or the 8-hour mark. And typically the younger you are, the better your body will be able to process the caffeine. So the older you're getting, also keep that in mind that maybe you used to be able to drink caffeine at 1, but as you're aging, it might start affecting you more.
You can't handle it.
Rare. Yeah.
Oh, man.
And once again, there is a rare gene out there that you can drink a cup of coffee at night and it won't affect you. But once again, that's a rare gene, and you have to test that out for yourself and see, I guess.
Yeah.
I was eating dinner. We went over to some friends for dinner just a few nights ago, and he was like, "Hey, do you want some espresso?" And I was like, "It is 6 o'clock at night." That's a mistake. And then I said yes and drank it. But now I'm second guessing that decision.
Did you fall asleep that night?
I did. Maybe I have that gene.
Oh. Maybe.
I've also heard,
or maybe
this may not have come up in your notes, but don't people with ADHD, don't they, I feel like I've read somewhere that caffeine calms them. I'm not even saying I have ADHD. I'm just saying I read that somewhere.
I was like,
really?
Side note. I was just thinking of other people that were unaffected by caffeine.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't know. I've never heard of that.
I haven't either. I would think it would do the opposite, but I have no idea. Like it would make them more jittery, but maybe.
Interesting.
Did you also know that decaf coffee, which I kind of feel silly not knowing this, decaf coffee does not mean it does not have coffee. It means it has
caffeine.
Oh boy.
Decaf,
it does not mean there's no coffee in there. Okay. Oh,
just pure flavor.
Decaf coffee doesn't mean it doesn't have caffeine in it. It means it has less amount of caffeine in it. So it has 15 to 30% amount of caffeine than the average cup of coffee.
Still a lot less.
Yeah, a lot less, but even if you drink 2 to 3 cups of decaf coffee at night, it still has caffeine in it. Almost the equivalent to a full cup.
is, my parents, when they get to this episode in like 3 months, they are not going to be happy. They're big
I hate this podcast.
This is their last episode.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Okay, I feel better because I was like, how did I not know this beforehand? Like, I feel like
I had no idea.
I should have known.
Obama.
Thanks, Obama.
Thanks, Obama. This has been a politically charged episode so far.
Sorry about that. My bad.
Once again, you're going to cancel. So that was interesting. So when you drink your cup of coffee, because I'm not going to give up coffee, just keep that in mind that it takes a while for it to clear your system completely.
That is
on top
so
of that,
interesting.
When you're going to bed, they obviously recommend a dark room, as dark as you can get, even to where if you have an alarm clock, if people still have those, an alarm clock, like covering that up or turning it away so you can't see it. That helps make your room darker, and then it prevents clock watching. So that way you won't be like, oh, it's an hour has passed and I haven't fallen asleep.
Sure.
So getting rid of a clock in your bedroom is actually very good. Keeping your room cool. They recommend anywhere from 60 to 67 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah,
and
I read about that.
Room. Yeah.
When I was in college, we didn't have control. Anywhere on campus, there was no thermostat control, and they had it set automatically to 74 degrees at all times. And that's horrible. That was like...
That's so
miserable.
Yeah.
You gotta tell the story.
Which one?
Togo? Just that whole experience?
Well...
It's one of the craziest things I've ever heard.
Well, okay. Real quick. I did a little bit of a stint in Togo, Africa, and it was during their hot season. I don't know. Anyways, so during their hot season, and it got up to like 40 degrees Celsius.
Let me Google that.
Thank you. They had only a Celsius thermostat there, so I don't really know what that was in Fahrenheit. Otherwise, it was hot, like over 100 degrees. 104 degrees.
Wow.
And that's like at night. And we didn't have, air conditioning. They had air conditioning units in the place that we were staying, but it was $1 a minute to use.
That's like, horrible.
I don't have that money, so I'm not using that. So
what?
Instead,
I can afford 12 minutes of AC control.
Yeah. I remember, so I was in a roommate, and there was 3 of us girls in this house, and we all went into one room, and we all like pitched in like $5 to have like half an hour of AC. It was the best. We were like, so good. And we got a little bit of Wi-Fi too that same night, which that was sporadic. So we even watched a little bit of Sherlock Holmes. I remember that night. It was such a glorious night. AC
Big
and
night.
Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, you don't know what you're missing until you're missing it. Yeah.
Anyway, so it was so hot at night to where what you would do to keep cool is you would take a shower. The cold shower, which was kind of lukewarm, the cold shower with all your clothes on, go to bed, and they let you have a fan. So you had a fan, you turn on the fan, and it was actually pretty nice. And you also take your sheet in there with the shower with you too, and you get your sheet wet, and you sleep with your
That's horrible.
That's incorrect.
You fall asleep. And in about 4 to 5 hours, you become completely dry and hot again. So you go back into the shower, get it all wet, and go back to bed. So
it's horrible.
You fall asleep. And I remember talking to someone. They said they keep a bucket of water by their bed. I never got to this point.
No
so they would just
way.
roll over, take their sheet, dunk it in the water, and
No way.
go back to sleep.
What?
Yeah. So it was a time. It was.
When you said, Josiah, when you said craziest thing I've ever heard, I was like, stop being hyperbolic. But that is genuinely up there on absolutely. Like, you're giving a list of how to sleep well, and nowhere is make your whole bed wet on that list. Scientifically.
Take a shower fully clothed right before bed. Actually,
that is horrible. Holy cow.
Rare cases. That I will say that I've never been more tired than living in Togo. Like, I literally fell asleep sitting up. So don't recommend that lifestyle.
Not the healthiest, we're finding out.
So
holy
sleep,
cow.
very important. So keep your room cool, 60 to 67 degrees Fahrenheit. And gadget
if possible.
If possible. If not, use other methods.
Yeah.
Taking a shower with all your clothes
Whatever
on.
works. Whatever works.
Yeah.
And using a gadget-free environment. I feel like we all know that, but that is very hard to actually and keep intact.
Yeah.
And
agreed.
Actually, that is about it. They also do say if someone out there has this problem, if you're laying in bed and it's been about 20 minutes and you're not able to fall asleep, they actually recommend getting up and doing something obviously very less strenuous and very relaxing, like reading or taking a hot shower and then going back to bed.
Counting sheep.
Yeah.
A glass of warm
milk.
But
you don't want, they say don't stay in bed. For some reason that keeps you from falling asleep. And then try it again. So, anyway,
20 minutes is...
all that information. Yeah.
20 minutes is not a long time.
Super long.
Yeah.
I was kind of shocked by that too. I was like...
I feel like if there's a night where I fall asleep before 20 minutes, that's like, what a good night. Should I just be getting up constantly?
Because all the time.
Because in me, I feel like that would cause like angst.
Get going again. And...
Yeah, you're getting up, and then like I feel like by the time I get back into bed, I'd be worried like, okay, am I gonna be able to fall asleep? And like if it's not 20 minutes, I have to get back up.
Me too.
Like, I don't know, I'd be like more worried about it.
Yeah,
that's so interesting.
That's what they recommend.
Weren't you saying something earlier about if you fall asleep within like 7 minutes, that's too fast or something?
I've heard that. I don't know if I said that, but that was like on Instagram. There was like a reel of that. I remember that, and I was like, oh.
Okay, maybe don't trust that.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of like,
never trust Instagram reels that are giving you information.
Yeah,
we definitely don't put those out there.
Just take it with a grain of salt. Anything you see from anybody. No, except for ours.
We're trustworthy.
But seriously though, like do your own research. That's definitely. Anyways, I hope that kind of all wrap it all up. I hope it gives you a greater appreciation of what your body does and sleep. Yeah. Appreciation for sleep. So, and just remember, the shorter you sleep, the shorter your life.
I kind of love that. I think that is super funny.
It's very simple.
Yeah. Shorter you sleep, shorter your life. I don't.
That's a good. It's a good T-shirt.
Yeah. Oh, good T-shirt. T-shirt alert.
Think about it. Something that's very like. The shorter you sleep, the shorter your life.
It sounds like something your mom would say.
Yeah. Let's put on a T-shirt. You can do that to everybody.
Abby.
There you go.
Thank you.
Since you're here,
guest. Oh shoot.
Well, before you go all the way, since Josiah and I always do it and it gets boring, why don't you tell the people about our Patreon and our... Oh, I guess that's it. I guess that's our only mid-episode pitch.
Join their page. What do you want me to say? You guys should join their Patreon because to me, I think that one sounds very fun because you get to a little bit more insight into their life and what's going on in their life. And you get little short tidbits of like, instead of this long lecture about sleep, you get like short tidbits of like, hey, blah, 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 blah. And it's very fun. So you should definitely join their Patreon.
You want to come on the next one? The next Nightclub episode?
That would be fun.
I'm not that fun.
Say yes. Yes, you are.
Ish.
You're having
so
much fun
you
right
guys
now.
get 10 additional Patreons all coming on.
Oh.
It's 10 too many. If you get one additional...
If anybody signs up.
I'll show up and I'll tell you more Togo stories.
Okay. Yes, that seems like a good deal. That's awesome.
That's not a bad deal.
Abby,
okay.
Thank you. This was very fun. Very well researched, very well presented. I am feeling like this episode is a losing battle for me. So that's fun.
You're good. Nice. What you got? Speaking of losing.
It's equally, it's just as important. I can't even get through this. It's just as important as sleep. Today I'm talking about big light bulb. You heard? It's like big light bulb. It's like big pharma, but big light bulb.
It sounds like they are the ones that are keeping people up.
I know. This is kind of
Probably.
Is there some kind of conspiracy here?
So let me set it up. Let me set up the topic. So I'm eating dinner with some friends. Consequentially, that's not a word. So I'm eating dinner with some friends, and they happen to be the same friends that offered me espresso so late at night. Anyway,
okay.
We're having this long discussion. We're having this long discussion of car issues and like having cars that just fall apart and are really bad. And generally uplifting conversation, how fun that is to deal with.
Bad guys, right?
Yeah, and so we were talking about things falling apart really easily. And then one of my friends said, well, have you heard about planned obsolescence? And I, being very intelligent and knowledgeable, answered truthfully and said, nope, no idea. And
what does that mean?
So first, do you know what planned obsolescence is?
Yeah, I've heard of this. Have you heard of it?
No idea.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Okay, well, 1 for 2 at least. That's good. Planned obsolescence is the purposeful designing of products to limit their lifespans in order to increase sales. So, did that make sense?
You believe it though, don't you?
It makes sense.
Are you a believer? So recently,
100%.
the company that just got in big trouble for this is Apple, and they call it, I wrote it down somewhere, Battery Gate, which is so silly. 2017, they got in huge trouble because someone figured out that their software updates that they were pushing onto people's phones were purposefully reducing battery life or battery performance, so your phone wasn't staying alive as long, and then also was purposefully slowing down older phones. And the reason is to make you think, oh, my phone's getting older, I've had it a few years, this is just how the technology works, it's time to go upgrade to the hottest new 27 Pro, whatever. And they got busted for it, and they had to pay a lot of money, I think 2 times. And I just read that someone was, they're going after him again for something similar. But anyway, planned obsolescence is, in my opinion, hard to prove, but everywhere. That's my theory. So you can do it in multiple ways.
I agree.
Yeah. So some ways I came up with, and I'm sure there's more methods, but 1, you can make the build quality low enough that it just falls apart after a specific amount of time or usage. That's like the classic one. 2, you can make it super inconvenient or difficult to repair so that replacing them is more inconvenient than having them repaired. There's a reason why a lot of repair shops are not really a thing anymore, because every company is making things impossible to fix so that you just buy a new one instead. 3, this one's more marketing, is to create a sort of perceived value in having the newest thing. So the newest phone, the newest car, I'm more valuable and people see my value because I'm driving the newest. I'm not personally valuable enough to know what car to put in that slot. Anyway. And then number 4 that I came up with is requiring consistent maintenance of a product and then removing the ability for it to be maintained. So software updates is a good example of this. And then eventually they remove support. So once your phone is 6 years old, Apple says, sorry, our newest software update doesn't work with that. And now all of a sudden your phone doesn't really work at all anymore. Basically, all of those were things that describe what Apple has been doing, because they're like the worst. Anyway, I say from my MacBook Pro with my phone next to me.
All of our Apple products.
All the Apple products. Whatever it is, it's working. So let me give you an example. Picture this. You are a local company, and you're making something. There's a Rubik's Cube over on my desk over there. So let's say you're making you're not making a Rubik's Cube because Rubik is a company, so that would make you Rubik. So instead, your business is called, I don't know, Josiah's Fanciful Cubes. So you've got Josiah's Fanciful Cubes. It's the JFC for short. And let's say you sell to a market of 20,000 people within your city, and you sell your cubes for $10 each, and you build them very well. This means that if everyone in your market buys one amazing cube, one well-built, high-quality cube for $10, then your company is worth $200,000 because you've served your whole market, and they're set, and they're not going to buy again. $200,000, okay. Not bad for the JFC. But then you realize if you put some extra care into designing your cubes so that they have a more controlled expiration, say like the inner mechanism falters and breaks after around like 10,000 turns. Now you have the exact same market of 20,000 people, but they have to buy a new fanciful cube every 2 years, which means that now, over the span of 10 years, your company is now worth $1 million instead of $200,000, which is 5 times more if you're doing your math. 5 times more than if you were to make a good product. Now, if you were selling the high-quality ones, you would serve your market, and then you would go out of business as soon as you reached your whole market because you made a good product. They're not going to buy another one. You're good. Obviously, this example kind of falls apart if you look too closely at it. But if you were to purposefully make a lower quality product, you would not only make much, much more, but it would also be significantly more sustainable for your business over a long period of time. And this is why I had a little bit of an epiphany as I was researching this topic. This is why you always hear grumpy older people saying they just don't make things that last anymore, you know, and they're always grumpy and sad about it. But as jaded as that sounds, it's because it's true. And it's because our entire product economy is designed around getting you to buy the same product constantly instead of buying one thing that will last. Our whole economy is founded on purposefully making things that don't last. How interesting is that?
Okay. Devil's advocate.
Yeah, thoughts.
How can you prove this?
I monologued.
What if you just sound like you kind of sound like a conspiracy theorist over here? What's your evidence to back it up?
I was hoping that story would be the evidence. The logic of it, to me, is enough evidence. But maybe that is the conspiracy theorist in me.
But I guess Apple. That. You did say Apple did. What if someone's like, well, people want to make a good product. They want to help people. It's not all about the money. What would you say to that? I think
now you're being a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's not about the money.
We actually were just talking yesterday, and just about the whole video AI, the new chat, or OpenAI's Sora. Do you know much about that?
No, sounds cool.
Oh. Okay, I won't spend too much time on it, but basically AI video is much better than you could have ever imagined. And who knows how long it has been. But go look it up. We'll talk about it at some point.
I'm sure it'll come.
But we were talking about just like why is all this AI stuff happening? Like, you won't be able to trust anything in a few months once this comes out.
Next week.
And and I have become over the last few years, Abby's always been the catchphrase is always follow the money.
Or do you want me to say it with you?
Yeah. And I was like, no, not always, but I've always. That's like the catchphrase around here whenever we're talking about
the medical field.
Sounds like especially in the medical field. But
it tracks. It tracks.
All that to say, maybe like 5 years ago I would have been like, well, maybe, but now I'm 100% on board.
I mean, to your point, Caleb, my parents have a refrigerator, a working refrigerator that worked for my mom's parents all their lives. And then my parents inherited, and it's still working. He said something about, like, there's an air compressor in the refrigerator, and the way it was built back then, it's like...
lasts forever.
Pretty much internal. Like, it's not going anywhere. But nowadays, they don't build it like that anymore.
They don't.
The reason you're speaking, like
they're focused on the bottom line. Mm-hmm. How interesting is that? And also, all of this, the reason why we still have some things that are like this just still works is because planned obsolescence came about in our favorite Learn Me Something era, and that's where we're about to head back to. 1924 to be specific. So this is the bulk of my topic, which is and I have decided I'm going to decide how to pronounce it on my own. I looked up a video and it didn't convince me, so I'm calling it Phoebus. The Phoebus cartel. Do you know what a cartel is? I had to Google it. You hear it related to like drug stuff all the time, but this is talking about light bulbs. So I was like, what is a cartel?
It's like it's almost like a monopoly, like somebody that controls all the trade and manufacturing, everything, and production, everything.
Organized crime? Yeah. That's what I always kind of pictured it.
I always thought it was crime related. It's not. It's economic related.
Legal cartel?
Yeah. So it's essentially a group that comes together to try to control the price and market of something. So I guess it kind of is illegal now because there are like antitrust laws and you're not supposed to be doing that. But that's, at its core, that's what a cartel is. So we're talking about the Phoebus cartel. Do you know what Phoebus is?
No.
No idea.
Okay. It is the Greek god of light. It's going to become important here in just a second. So it's December 23rd, 1924. Everyone is hanging their Christmas lights. They're enjoying their families. They're sipping their hot chocolates. That's a funny thing to write down in my notes.
What else do you do?
I wrote, Scrooge has just visited his Christmas ghosts and is now a pleasant person. Everyone is merry, except for a greedy group of high-level from Big Lightbulb itself. It's the top dogs.
Phoebus group.
Yeah, it's the top dogs from all the major light bulb manufacturers in the world. So you've got from Germany, Osram, who's still around. You've got from the Netherlands, Philips, who's still around. You've got from France, another one, Campagne de Lampes. And then from the US, Campagne de Lampes. No.
That's
and then
Italian.
From the US, you have General Electric, and there are a bunch more. I think Tokyo Electric is one we'll talk about as well. All the big dogs in lights and light bulbs, they meet up December 23rd in Switzerland for a great meeting. I titled it here, The Great Council of Light. And they decide that they need to figure out how to control, essentially, the light industry, the light bulb industry, is pretty volatile right now. There's a lot of competition. Technological advancements are popping up really fast all over the place. Everyone's kind of chasing after the market. Nothing's really secure. It's just a little sketchy. So all these guys come together and they're like, we got to find a way to control this. We got to find a way to secure the ownership of it. And we got to find a way to make more money. Got to follow the money. And thus, the Phoebus cartel, the light bulb cartel is born. And so they hatch this plan. They're going to do some engineering and some research and development. And they're going to design a bulb that reliably burns out and fails at a reduced rate from the bulbs that already exist. And then they're going to form the cartel, the group, that is tasked with maintaining and enforcing the production of bulbs at that specific rate. So I figure this way we can own the market, we can sell bulbs more frequently because they burn out quicker, we can reduce the quality and save money that way, and since we'll be controlling the market, we can also jack the prices up a whole lot. And so they did. In 1924, they developed a bulb, and all these companies agreed to follow the new standard that the cartel created, and then the cartel was formed to enforce it. Now, up until this point, light bulbs had progressed pretty significantly. The standard, there were incandescent light bulbs at the time, so they're light bulbs that are lit by heat. They heat something up, and then that heat burns bright, and that's how you light the bulb in that day. And they were doing pretty well for that type of bulb. They were pretty bright. They were very high quality, and they had a life of expectancy of a minimum of 2,500 hours, but likely up to like 5,000 hours even. And then the Phoebus cartel, they step in, and they walked back years and years of that progress, and they made the new cartel light bulb for all of these big companies. And that new light bulb had a maximum of 1,000 hours life expectancy. So they tanked it by like 60%. And yeah, it's horrible. And it's so sad. All of these poor, struggling people are like, we just want to be in homes that we can see inside of. And these money mongers are like, no, absolutely not. So the cartel strictly enforced the quality standard. And so every factory within any of these companies that signed up to be members were bound by these new rules. So they all signed, they all agreed. And so they were required, every factory was required to send samples of bulbs constantly to be tested at a special cartel lab in Switzerland. And if a factory was found to be producing bulbs that were outside of the constraints of the cartel, the factory got a pretty significant fine. So these guys are just full force criminal behavior. They're controlling the world right now.
If you don't pay the fine, are they going to send somebody to break your kneecaps?
Oh.
Probably. They're going to send a guy in a suit that says, I'm sorry about this. And then he caps him. Yep. I gotta teach a lesson.
Teach a lesson.
Yeah. I guess I don't know.
In their regards. I send a Southern guy.
Always send the Southern guy. I think it was all legal. Nothing was illegal, so they were able to enforce it legally according to like contracts that had been signed, that type of thing. So it was all, I don't think there were any kneecappings going on.
Okay.
Unfortunately, that would make the story more interesting. So where were we at? Oh, this is interesting. They also restricted the sales quotas. So when they started selling these, their sales skyrocketed because they controlled the market. And then they were like, if we sell too much, then things could get suspicious looking and we could get in big trouble for what we're doing. So we need to limit how much we're selling so that it was too successful. Planned obsolescence was too effective that they were like, wait, we got to be careful about this or we could be outed. And I even have a quote here from Tokyo Electric that was writing a memo to the cartel group. And it was after their sales had increased 5 times on the bulbs they sold. And they said, if the increase in our business resulting from such endeavors directly means a heavy penalty, it must be a thing out of reason and shall quite discourage us. So basically they're saying, we got to watch how much money we're making because we don't want to incur these big, heavy fines for this. Just trash. As ridiculous as this story sounds, I bet almost every business has done something somewhat similar. Every big corporation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is why shop local is just a beautiful sentiment. Fills me with hope and joy.
Yeah, there's 2 things you learn from this episode. It's the shorter you sleep, the shorter you die, or the shorter you live. Shorter it takes for you to die.
Shorter you're dead.
Shorter you're dead.
Technically. And shop local.
It's a very, very practical episode this time around.
Yeah, it is.
So there were the there were some developers within these companies that still tried to improve the bulb. So, like, I don't think everyone knew really what was going on. So there were still, like, researchers, scientists in there that are like, I mean, we could make this better. So some, like, tried to increase the voltage. Some tried to improve the materials, make other tweaks that essentially improves the bulb. And the cartel always stepped in and stopped it, saying, nope, this is the bulb we make. Don't mess with it. It's gonna, we don't want this. We'll send our southern friend after you. And so I have a quote here from Anton Phillips, who is the head of Philips, which is still big business. He wrote to an executive of General Electric after it came out that some members had been creating improved designs. And he says, "This, you will agree with me, is a very dangerous practice and is having a most detrimental influence on the total turnover of the Phoebus parties. After the very strenuous efforts we have made to emerge from a period of long life lamps, it is of the greatest importance that we do not sink back into the same mire by paying no attention to voltages and supplying lamps that will have a very prolonged life." So that's 1920s lingo for, hey, it is not going to help us at all if we make these light bulbs better. So everyone chill out. Big light bulb man, I tell you.
Wild.
Wild. This is the true
Are they
Wild
still
Wild
doing
West.
this? They must.
They must.
I imagine. No, we'll talk about that briefly here at the end.
Okay.
I think I'm just about done. Shorter topic for me today. I've been long-winded the last few episodes, so I figured I'd reel it in.
Just calm it down over there.
So the plan works. So in 1926, this is a few years later, the cartel sold 335.7 million light bulbs. And then after 4 years, those sales had increased to 420.8 million light bulbs annually. And the cartel controlled everything. Literally, they're just the masters of light at this point. For a bit, until they started struggling. And this is where there's a little bit of hope in this story. They started losing money, and it's because other companies that were not a part of the cartel started to realize, wait, we can make these same things but sell them at a much lower price, because they price gouged everything. Yeah, these people saved the day. So they stepped in and they start selling very similar bulbs at a much cheaper price. And they're not following the increased pricing standard that the cartel had created. And so they started losing money left and right. And so they were supposed to last, the cartel was agreed upon to last until 1955, which is so much time. They're basically like, we're going to do this for 30 years and just establish and price gouge everything. But they started losing money, things weren't going right, and then finally they decided, you know what, let's just nullify this thing. When World War II hit, they were like, you know what, enough is enough. This just isn't going to work. And so they they decided to call it quits, and they moved on. But the light bulb had been permanently affected, so it had a long running standard of having that level of quality afterwards. It's very interesting. There is an interesting side note to it, though, that the light bulbs, by pure chance, kind of worked slightly better at the new standard that they created. So they didn't last as long, but they were actually a little bit brighter at the lower standard, because essentially the general rule is light bulbs longevity is determined by how bright it burns. And so because they purposefully shorted it, it actually got a little bit brighter. And so then when everything started coming to light, they started trying to say, well, we did it on purpose because we were trying to make a brighter light bulb. Not the case. They everything everything came to light. To catch my drift. And they, I think it was General Electric. They got taken to court over it in the 40s for violating antitrust laws. And so then people start looking into it, and they realize pretty quickly, even though it was a brighter light bulb, the only significant thing that they changed was making the lifespan shorter, and their only focus was profiting. Like, all the documentation that they had laid out for it was just, it wasn't about let's try to make a light bulb like this. It was just pure, how do we make more money? Let's make it die faster. And between that and them stopping people from trying to develop and improve the designs, very sad. So General Electric lost that case. And as part of the legal statement, the court said that it should be kept in mind that the life of a lamp is related to the power of its light, but that they were able to prove that the main consideration in reducing the lifespan was profit. Always the bottom line. I tell you what, you guys.
Okay, say it with me. Always follow the money. There you go.
So now...
Thank you.
Oh, you guys. Making me feel lonely in this room all by myself. Also, I should admit, if you're just listening to the podcast, I should point out that their camera stopped working, so they're now using the FaceTime camera, and they're like tucked in next to each other.
Yeah, it looks very cute.
Oh, you guys, we're just chatting. Anyway, so to discuss, and then I'm out of here. Oh, I have two more things to discuss, and then that'll be the end of my topic. So, number one, then I'm going home. The great irony of this story is actually from recent events at the development of LED light bulbs. So the cartel had its purpose for a long time, but they've developed these LED light bulbs now that do the exact opposite that the cartel was hoping for. So they're bright and effective and efficient, and if you turned on a modern LED bulb and left it on 24/7, it would stay on for about a year and a half. But if you used it with how average people use lights throughout the day, they estimate it'll last about 42 years. So the same companies that tried so hard to keep this from happening have kind of created their own demise, because they, in the end, developed a bulb that'll last forever anyway. And the fear they had is happening right now. So the fear they had in the 20s that they were going to lose all their sales because they were making light bulbs too well, that's what's going on right now, which just feels like sweet, sweet justice.
Victory. Sweet victory.
Exactly. It's to the point where all of these big companies they're separating their light bulb side of their business from the rest of their bigger business, so that when that starts going under, they can try to sell it off and still have their main business. So like
Interesting.
Philips has done this. I believe General Electric did this. They've moved away from the light bulb space altogether, I believe.
That's crazy.
Yeah, what is the other one? Oh, the German one, which was another big player in this story. They also just split off their huge light bulb business so that they could try to refocus in the right spot. So big light bulb, they couldn't help themselves. They developed a better technology, and they're suffering now. So they're all trying to pivot towards like smart products or multifunctional lighting or all these other types of things, because light bulbs, as a general market, light bulbs are no longer a viable business plan, because people buy them once and you're just good. How crazy is that?
It makes me think we should like learn how to make light bulbs on our own. It's like, like a homesteading thing.
I was not expecting that to come out.
The next homesteading activities to make your own.
Start your own YouTube channel. How to make your own light bulb.
And I have like suspenders and a cowboy hat.
Yeah, that'd be so fun.
This is how you. Then you're more self-reliant.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about big light bulb anymore.
You get chickens. Get some land.
That is like
your own light bulbs.
You need chickens in order to.
No, it's part of the whole vibe.
Oh, the whole vibe.
It's the whole vibe. You don't need them.
Say that's
light bulbs.
The ultimate off-grid experience is to design your own light bulbs too. And like, we can't even buy the bulbs. Sorry, we got them. Nope, not where I am. Not supporting big light bulbs. It inspires me
or something. And then you could just buy your neighbor's light bulbs.
Yeah.
Instead of, you know,
hey, could I have
take it
your
one step
hand-me-downs?
further completely.
Local light bulb businesses should make a big return.
Something to think about. Yeah.
I'll end on this. This interesting little side fact. The world record, the Guinness Book of World Records holds this as the world's longest burning light bulb. It has been on, it's an incandescent light bulb, like we've been talking about. And it has been on continuously for over 120 years. And
what?
Yeah, it was produced in 1901, which speaks to how good they were at making light bulbs before these companies swept in and made them horrible. And it's pretty dim now. Like it's in a fire department in Livermore, California. And
really?
Yeah, the chief of the department is like, yeah, it kind of just like it like you can see it's not enough to like read with, but like it kind of dimly lights the garage if that's the only thing that's on. But after 120 years, that's like I would take a dim light bulb.
That's something to shoot for.
Yeah. But that just shows.
Why did they have to do LED lights though? If the incandescent light bulb it has this potential for beyond. Why do you switch over to LED? Because I heard, isn't LED kind of like bad? Because if you break it, like there's mercury in it or something like that. Did I just make
They're
that
probably
up?
really low quality. I would believe that. Lead.
I have no idea.
No, it doesn't stand. There's no lead in them. They're LED. LED. That's what it's for. I don't know. I think they're really energy efficient because the other light bulbs you have to literally heat. So they're also probably safer because they don't require any sort of heating. Cooler. Yeah, they're way cooler. Yeah. So they're not as much of a fire risk. And they're much more efficient to keep on, would be my guess.
Sure.
But I don't know the answer to that. Anyway.
Do you have any more light bulb questions? I'm trying to think of my light bulb questions.
In preparation.
I remember, wasn't like in high school when they said we're no longer making incandescent light bulbs, and everybody like ran to the store and got like loads of them. And they're like, you can only have these fancy the LED lights.
Whatever. Or everyone's like, not in my house.
And then it never happened. Oh, really?
I believe that.
Maybe
we
just in
will
the Midwest.
Never.
In this household.
We don't have LED bulbs.
You get a sign.
Is that
on your wall that says like faith, family, love, incandescent light bulbs.
Put on the front porch on a welcome mat.
Welcome. We hope you enjoy our incandescence.
And then you have one of those ones where when you're coming in, that's what's facing towards you, and then when you're leaving, it says the less you sleep, the quicker you die. Just a quick reminder on the way out of the house.
Quick reminder. Also, shop local. Thanks for coming. Oh man.
Oh, I don't think
right.
you have very many visitors coming.
There's just a huge doormat with all these sayings.
All these one-liners.
Yeah. What do I read?
Oh my goodness.
That's so funny. That's all I got. That's my topic. It's big light bulb, and it's planned obsolescence, which is maybe more depressing than it is fun. But shop local, and you should be fine.
No, it's kind of good because the anti-venom to that is shop local. Or buy once, cry once is another thing we can add to the doormat.
Yes. Buy the highest quality with the understanding that they're not trying to get you to rebuy it every few years. Brilliant.
It's going to hurt, but it's going to be worth it in the long run. If it costs too much, save a little more. Don't get the cheap thing. Well, for some things.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. There's some things that you can get that are cheap. That's fine. Like a little notebook. You can get a cheap one.
Sure.
Some things are meant to be used up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Oranges. Yeah. Apples.
Oranges are meant to be
anything
used up.
Food, really. Don't get something.
Any food. I was going to say.
Oh.
No.
Save
next
it.
Time you come back.
All right, people. If you're new around here, Josiah has chosen to tap out, which means that Abby has presented on his behalf. So the punishment of this episode, if you choose to vote for me and he loses, although Abby presented the topic, Josiah will be doing the punishment. And the punishment, do you remember what it is, Josiah? Do you remember what the punishment is? I wrote it down. Do you want me to just say
Yes, I got it.
Okay.
The punishment is you have to wear a neck brace for 24 hours.
Yeah. We found a cheap, horrible one at
Walgreens.
Walgreens.
Sleep well.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, we just talked about a day. I didn't think about 24 hours. Are you changing the punishment?
I just was assuming a day is 24 hours.
We could do 24.
What do you think?
Or should it be split up into 2 12-hour days? And at night
12 hours a day during the day so you can sleep. Abby just gave us a whole topic on how bad it would be if we didn't sleep well.
Yeah, but that's the punishment.
But maybe maybe it'll help you sleep. Kind of make you feel a little bit more cozy.
This has been delightful.
I don't think
It'll help support your neck a little bit.
I love this.
You get nice cushions on it.
Okay. Nice. Is it 24 hours or 1 day?
In most instances.
Let's do 1 day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No
wake
sleep.
up, getting up to going to bed. Okay.
The very first thing you have to do when you wake up is don the cervical. We looked him up. There's a name for him. It's like a cervical collar. A weird name.
Collar.
We didn't love it.
Yep. We had a whole
other conversation.
It's for your neck. It's for your neck.
We should end this. We should end this episode.
Okay. We should end it. Go vote. There's a link below. Thank you for watching or listening. We're on YouTube also. Or if you're not watching, then you can. Thank you for joining.
Thanks for having me.
Larry, would you go ahead and play us out?